From harvesters measuring every cut, to forwarders, processors, and cable systems working steep ground, this is forestry built on precision. Watch machines grip, feed, cut, and place timber with intention, season after season. Clear cuts, thinning, regeneration, and transport all move in sequence, not chaos. No wasted motion, no shortcuts. Just planning, balance, and heavy machines doing quiet, serious work in the forest. On clear-cut terrain in Annanger, the Log 590E harvester and Log 594E forwarder work through the site in a steady, deliberate rhythm. There's nothing rushed here, and nothing staged for effect. This is production forestry carried out with intent, where consistency matters more than spectacle. Every movement feels like part of a larger pattern rather than an isolated action, and that's what makes the operation hold together over long hours. The Log 590E moves through the stand with a calm sense of purpose. It approaches selected trees with controlled alignment, setting itself up before the head ever closes. Each stem is secured cleanly, then brought down into a smooth handling flow that continues without interruption. Delimbing and length measurement happen as part of the same motion, keeping the tree under control from start to finish. The processing feels fluent, almost anticipatory, as if the machine is always one move ahead of the material passing through it. Logs are processed directly at the stump and placed along the strip road with deliberate spacing. Nothing piles up randomly. The harvester manages reach and angle to keep the work area open and readable, creating order that will matter later. That spacing isn't dramatic, but it quietly removes friction from everything that follows. The result is a site that looks calm even as productivity continues uninterrupted. As the Log 594E forwarder enters the cycle, the operation shifts from processing to movement. Timber is gathered and built into loads with balance and stability in mind, especially across uneven ground. Each grapple movement adds to a growing structure rather than just filling space. Once the forwarder settles into its rhythm, the pace becomes deceptively efficient, with load volumes building faster than expected. Travel paths are reused wherever possible, limiting ground disturbance and keeping machine movement predictable. The forwarder's capacity allows it to move substantial volumes while maintaining control, even when handling mixed assortments. Planning shows itself here not as a separate task, but as something embedded into every pass across the site. While the forwarder clears completed sections, the harvester continues feeding the system, keeping material flowing without congestion. There's no waiting, no overlap, and no unnecessary crossing of roles. Each machine stays committed to its purpose, and that separation is what keeps the cycle smooth. By the end of the operation, timber is delivered cleanly to the landing, ready for the next stage beyond the forest. Halsing Skog's entrepreneur's approach highlights how final harvesting succeeds through repeatable movement, clear structure, and disciplined execution. With the Log 590E and 594E working in tandem, the result is steady, controlled, and built for real forest conditions rather than momentary display. Between cutting and transport, processing keeps the operation connected. Timber is measured, shaped, and placed with intent, maintaining order along the strip road. That quiet organization reduces friction later, allowing the forwarder to move in smoothly and keep the cycle flowing without interruption. Timber processing on site is handled by the Keto 150 Karate processor, a machine built around control, consistency, and repeatable handling rather than dramatic motion. From the first grip, it's clear this processor is designed to work through volume methodically, keeping timber under control at every stage. Nothing here is rushed, and nothing is exaggerated for effect. The focus stays on clean processing and predictable results. Log stems are guided into the processing head with firm alignment, settling into the feed path without hesitation. Knives strip branches as the rollers draw the stem forward, keeping contact steady along the full length. Measurement happens naturally within that movement, cutting logs to target sizes while maintaining flow. Each pull feels purposeful, with no extra repositioning or unnecessary correction. The motion looks simple on the surface, but it carries the weight of a well-balanced system underneath. Processed logs are placed in organized positions that support clean extraction later on. Spacing stays deliberate, preventing clutter and keeping the work area readable. Feed pressure adapts smoothly as stem sizes change, allowing the processor to handle mixed timber without breaking rhythm. That adaptability stands out, especially given the compact footprint of the setup. Stability plays a quiet but constant role throughout repeated cycles. The machine holds its position, while hydraulic responses remain controlled and predictable. As the head repositions for the next stem, movements stay composed rather than abrupt. It's easy to overlook how much coordination is happening inside the processor as it transitions from one log to the next. Across the operation, the Keto 150 Karate shifts comfortably between harvesting support and processing duties, adapting to site demands without constant adjustment. Output is shaped through measured control inputs, balancing feed speed and cutting rhythm instead of relying on brute force. The system rewards calm operation, allowing workflows to stay consistent and productive over time. As the operation shifts to harvesting at the stem, attention turns to how efficiently standing timber is converted into usable length. This is where head design and control start to matter most. Mounted on a Tigercat 855, the Log7 XT steps in to define the pace, focusing on clean engagement, consistent processing, and movement that leaves little room for waste. The Log7 XT, mounted on a Tigercat 855, is built to turn standing timber into uniform logs with very little wasted movement. The focus here isn't speed for its own sake, but how smoothly the harvester head works its way through each tree. From the moment it lines up with the stem, to the final placement of processed logs, everything feels deliberate and controlled. Carrier positioning keeps the head square to the trunk, allowing the feed rollers to grip evenly without fighting the wood. Hydraulic pressure drives the delimbing knives tight against the stem, while the saw unit delivers a clean base cut. That first cut already gives a sense of how much force this head can manage, without hesitation or vibration. Once the tree is on the ground, the rollers draw it through at a steady pace, stripping branches in sequence while sensors track length continuously. Crosscuts happen with precision, producing consistent log sections without breaking rhythm. Process logs are placed neatly for forwarding, ready for the next machine. Nothing here looks rushed, yet nothing feels slow. The balance between control and output is hard to miss, and the consistency from cut to cut quietly sets the pace for the entire operation. After watching how consistency is built at the harvester head, the focus shifts to how that control carries into hardwood processing. Different carrier, different head, same priority on clean engagement and repeatable output. With the CAT 0.7 cubic meters 320 DRR guiding the Keto 500, log length accuracy becomes the result of steady feed and measured control rather than brute force, continuing the same disciplined rhythm across the site. The head grips hardwood trunks, feeds them forward, and aligns each cut for stable log lengths. Feed rollers maintain traction while the saw unit enters cleanly, exits fast, and resets without pause. That steady feed saves time across a full stand. Logs are separated, stacked, and cleared in sequence to keep space open around the carrier. No wasted motion here, just repeatable handling. That moment lands unexpectedly hard. Once timber reaches the landing, the focus shifts from movement to placement. Forwarding may be finished, but control still matters just as much here. On busy forest landings, how logs are unloaded decides whether the site stays workable or turns chaotic. This is where the Tigercat 1075 steps in, turning delivery into order through measured handling and consistent spacing across every unloading cycle. Clean landings and organized piles reflect how the Tigercat 1075 completes unloading tasks on site. This forwarder positions each log bundle, lifts cleanly, and clears the bunk without crowding the landing. Hydraulic arms extend, grapple closes, and weight settles before movement continues. Placement matters here because space management decides unloading speed. Logs rotate slightly to align stacks, then release follows in sequence. That alignment keeps the deck usable through long shifts. The operator adjusts boom angle and reach instead of forcing drops. Each cycle repeats with similar spacing to avoid pile collapse. One misread angle would turn order into chaos fast. Unload flow stays predictable as bundles leave the machine. The forwarder backs away only after the landing clears. That timing reduces repositioning and keeps cycles tight. That final lift always lands heavier than expected. Across repeated unloads, consistency protects both machine balance and ground access. The Tigercat 1075 maintains control until the last log leaves the grapple. Clear stacking finishes the task and prepares the site for trucks. Nothing rushes here, yet productivity stays intact for every unloading cycle. On busy forest landings, during sustained daily operations. Overall, with timber staged and ready on the deck, the operation shifts into a processing rhythm built around flow rather than force. At this stage, consistency at the head defines how smoothly everything else follows. In the forests of British Columbia, Volvo 220 EFC and 250 EFC processors take over, carrying that same disciplined approach into delimbing, measuring, and cutting without breaking pace. Operators guide Volvo 220 EFC and Volvo 250 EFC through controlled processing motions across BC forests. Logs arrive on the deck already staged, allowing the processing heads to grip, delimb, and cut to length in a steady flow. Feed rollers guide each stem through the head, maintaining alignment during length measurement and bucking. That pull looks stronger than expected for material this dense. Cut sections release cleanly, stacking into organized piles without hesitation. Boom movements stay compact, keeping reach efficient across repeated cycles. This setup feels like muscle paired with clear decision-making. Operators rely on consistent head response to handle mixed diameters without resetting position. That pile grows faster than you'd guess after just a few passes. Processing continues across varied terrain, turning standing timber into transport-ready logs. Simple mechanics, serious output, no wasted motion showing up here. Zooming out from individual machines, the work begins to look less like isolated tasks and more like a coordinated system. In Yamaguchi, Yoshioka connects harvesting, recovery, and planning into a single rhythm that carries across multiple forest sections. The emphasis shifts from short-term output to decisions that protect stability, regeneration, and continuity over time. Multiple forest sections are processed each cycle, as Yoshioka coordinates logging and recovery in Yamaguchi. Daily operations focus on balancing material output with long-term forest health, rather than pushing volume alone. Work planning organizes harvest zones to maintain regeneration capacity. Trees are selected based on spacing and growth condition, ensuring surrounding stands remain stable. Felling is executed with controlled direction to protect nearby timber and soil structure. That choice of direction does more work than any speed boost ever could. Once trees are down, processing follows close to the stump to limit unnecessary transport. Logs are trimmed in size to match downstream use, separating usable timber from residual material early. This separation reduces congestion and keeps movement predictable. There's a quiet confidence in how nothing seems rushed here. Extracted logs are moved along predefined paths to minimize ground stress. Reused travel lines prevent scattered damage and simplify later site recovery. Stacking areas are kept orderly to support smooth loading and transport beyond the forest. That stack discipline saves headaches long before trucks arrive. Beyond harvesting, attention extends to forest upkeep. Residual branches and byproducts are managed to support soil nutrients and reduce waste. Regeneration planning follows each completed section, reinforcing continuity between cycles. This is forestry thinking several seasons ahead, not just this week. Human judgment guides machine use throughout the workflow. Operators adjust methods based on terrain, weather, and stand condition rather than relying on fixed routines. You'd expect rigid systems, yet flexibility clearly does the heavy lifting here. By integrating harvesting, transport, and regeneration planning, Yoshioka maintains a closed loop of forest use. The result supports stable production while preserving future growth potential. It's hard not to respect a system that leaves the forest ready for its next chapter without making a fuss. After large-scale harvesting and recovery systems, the focus narrows to decisions made one tree at a time. In first thinning, precision replaces volume as the priority, and every choice carries weight for what the stand becomes later. This is where controlled machines and careful judgment meet, as the Log 590D paired with the Logmax 7000C steps into work that values restraint as much as capability. The Log 590D paired with the Logmax 7000C moves into first thinning work in Australia, with choices made tree by tree, not in bulk. A single stem is selected, aligned, and guided into position before any cut is committed. That pause before contact already tells you this job rewards control, not rush. Positioning comes next, with the carrier adjusting reach and angle to keep neighboring growth intact. The harvester head closes, feeds, and measures continuously while rollers manage forward motion through the head. Diameter data guides each cut point without stopping the flow. This balance between motion and restraint feels deliberate, not mechanical. Delimbing follows in one smooth pass, keeping fiber clean and usable. Sections are placed precisely to avoid cluttering extraction paths. You can almost sense the machine thinking 2 moves ahead. Throughout the cycle, the 590D maintains stability on uneven ground while the 7000C handles grip and feed pressure consistently. Repeated cuts build rhythm without forcing pace. First thinning looks simple on paper, but this setup proves how much judgment hides inside every cut. Logs stack clean, spacing stays open, and the stand keeps its future shape. As terrain steepens and tree size increases, processing shifts toward making the most of every single stem. On the slopes near Colville, Washington, attention narrows to how one long tree can be transformed efficiently without breaking flow. This is where grip strength, feed control, and accurate segmentation come together to extract maximum value from a single pass. The timber harvesting processor grips, feeds, and sections a single long tree into 4 logs on the slopes near Colville, Washington. A single tree over 100 feet long is secured, fed forward, and stripped clean as rollers guide the stem through the head. Knives remove branches while the measuring system segments the log into 4 usable lengths. That feed looks stronger than most people expect from one pass. Each cut follows targets to maximize yield and reduce handling. When the job calls for reliable processing on demanding slopes, attention shifts to setups that balance size with capability. This is where mid-class harvesters prove their value, turning control and consistency into usable output. Paired with the Keto 51 LD3, the Sampo ROSEN LEWHR 46 steps in to carry that disciplined approach through felling and processing without breaking rhythm. The harvester positions itself to secure standing timber, bringing the stem under full control. Feed rollers pull the trunk through the head, while knives strip branches cleanly along the length. Sensors guide cut points, dividing one tall tree into multiple logs without extra handling. That pull looks stronger than expected for a mid-size setup. Lengths are released in sequence to keep piles organized and transport ready. The pace stays steady enough to feel almost effortless. This machine turns raw timber into uniform outputs suited for efficient forwarding operations on demanding forest sites like these slopes daily. Once harvesting and extraction are complete, the focus shifts from removing timber to preparing what comes next. The work slows in appearance, but not in importance, as the forest floor becomes the priority. This is where regeneration begins to take shape, with soil preparation setting the conditions that future growth will depend on. Soil preparation across forestry ground is handled by the Komatsu D85 dozer during silviculture operations. The track machine advances steadily, pushing organic layers aside to expose workable soil for planting lines. Blade angle adjustments control depth while maintaining consistent ground contact over uneven terrain. Material is redistributed to improve drainage and root access before planting begins later. That push feels stronger than expected for a single pass. Operators guide direction and pressure from the cab, keeping movement controlled while minimizing disturbance outside the working lane. Each forward run clears obstacles and levels the surface, preparing wide strips efficiently. The way the ground opens up almost feels like resetting the forest floor. Repeated passes refine spacing and alignment, supporting uniform growth conditions. Built for forestry duty, the Komatsu D85 delivers steady force and reliability across demanding silviculture sites. Traction from the wide tracks keeps momentum stable on soft ground and slopes without unnecessary slip during operations. As tree size increases, handling becomes as critical as cutting. In regions where oversized stems are the norm, control during swing and placement defines whether the site stays orderly or turns chaotic. This is where purpose-built carriers step forward, and in Idaho's heavy timber, the Timber Pro TL765C takes on that role. Controlled swing torque drives the Timber Pro TL765C while cutting and handling large trees in Idaho. Dual swing drives allow the upper structure to rotate heavy stems smoothly under load. The carrier positions beside standing timber, bringing the head into range without excess repositioning. The cutter secures the trunk, completes the cut, then lifts and swings the tree toward the landing. Logs are placed with controlled movement, reducing ground contact and keeping work zones clear. The machine repeats the sequence across oversized timber, common to this region. Boom reach and rotation are balanced to avoid sudden shifts during placement. That pause before release looks deliberate, not rushed. Cycle after cycle, large stems are moved without crowding the landing zone. Placement consistency supports safer traffic flow around stacked timber during operations. Ground conditions stay more manageable throughout extended shifts. Inside the cab, operators manage reach and rotation. Designed for demanding forests, the Timber Pro TL765C maintains balance, torque, and placement accuracy through continuous tree handling shifts on steep Idaho terrain. As operations shift toward organizing timber for extraction, the focus moves from cutting to placement. Road lining demands control through the entire swing, not just at the cut. Near Gisborne, that transition is handled by the Timber Pro TL765C, setting the stage for deliberate positioning that keeps access open for the work that follows. Standing trees are cut and positioned for road lining by the Timber Pro TL765C near Gisborne. Fitted with a Woodsman Pro FH1350, the machine secures standing stems, completes the cut, then lifts and swings trees to placement. The carrier repositions smoothly to keep cycles flowing. That swing stays controlled even during heavier picks. Placement keeps access clear for follow-up work. This setup feels built for real logging, not display. When terrain stops machines from holding ground, extraction has to change form rather than force the issue. On slopes that refuse shortcuts, lifting replaces dragging and coordination replaces momentum. In Rotorua, that shift brings aerial systems into focus, where timing, balance, and restraint define whether timber leaves cleanly or not at all. In Rotorua, the Hawkeye system by EMS New Zealand manages timber extraction on steep ground where machines cannot stay put. Lines are positioned upslope, and tension is balanced before any lift happens. Once hooked, stems clear debris fast, reducing ground drag and keeping breakage low. That moment, right before the pull, feels like holding a breath. Operators coordinate lift height and swing angle so the load stays stable while traveling downslope. Release points are chosen to stack logs cleanly for later processing. One wrong angle, and the landing changes the whole rhythm. The system favors selective removal, leaving surrounding terrain largely untouched. Crews adjust cycles based on stem weight and terrain pitch rather than forcing speed. There's a calm confidence once the pattern locks in. Safety margins stay wide, especially near uneven stumps and loose slash. Over repeated turns, extraction remains consistent, predictable, and efficient. Each return cycle sharpens timing between crew and aircraft. The hillside stays quieter once stems leave cleanly without dragging. You can feel relief when the line comes back empty again. Hawkeye keeps crews productive while respecting terrain limits, proving aerial logging still has a strong role in modern forestry operations. This balance matters most on ground that refuses shortcuts. As the focus returns to precision harvesting in Nordic forests, attention shifts to setups built for steady force rather than spectacle. In Sweden, the balance between grip strength and measured feed defines how efficiently timber is processed at the stump. This is where disciplined machines take over, setting the tone before the first cut is even made. Steel grips wood with authority on an Log 560D running a Log Max 5000D in Sweden. The carrier advances, positioning the head against standing trees with steady control. Feed rollers clamp down, drawing the stem through knives set for diameter. Length sensors guide each cut without stopping the flow. That pull looks relentless, yet the motion stays measured. Delimbing follows the trunk's contour, clearing branches in one pass. You'd expect more hesitation here, but cuts land clean. This head doesn't rush, it commits. Output stays consistent across stem sizes. As extraction moves away from heavy machines, control shifts to traction and line management. In Mato Grosso, steady winching replaces brute movement, showing how simple setups can still move serious timber when handled with care. Tires grip soil, the winch draws steadily, operators keep spacing clean. That pull hits hard, yet sustainable handling limits damage. Smart forestry done right here today. On steep ground where wheels and tracks reach their limits, control shifts to the cable itself. Extraction becomes about line tension, timing, and how confidently a load is carried through space. In Marahau, that approach brings cable systems into focus, setting the stage for how the Falcon forestry claw manages each pull with precision rather than force. Lines stretch across the slope, anchors hold, and the carriage advances to grip stems. The claw closes, lift engages, and the load clears ground obstacles for travel. That grip looks confident, no wobble at all. The operator adjusts speed to keep the line steady through turns and rises. At the landing, release follows alignment, logs settle, and the carriage returns uphill for another pull. That return feels quick, almost like resetting a game level. This setup favors reach on steep ground while limiting soil disturbance and repeated passes. Cable paths stay consistent, cycles repeat cleanly, and timber arrives staged for processing. Staging keeps workflows smooth without extra traffic or delays here. When cutting demands more reach and control at the head, attention turns to specialized attachments built for precision under load. In heavier timber, efficiency isn't about speed, but about how smoothly cutting and holding work together. This is where purpose-built hydraulic saws and grapples step in, setting the stage for controlled cuts and stable handling without breaking flow. An 820mm saw bar gives the ABBATTITRICEI DRAULICAGS 600 the reach needed for demanding forestry cutting tasks. The head positions itself, clamps close, and the saw bar moves through wood rated up to 600mm in diameter. Automatic lubrication keeps the chain supplied, while automatic tensioning holds cutting stability without manual pauses. Material control follows as the SGII Holton's grapple secures each section, holding vertical alignment through the integrated locking device. Engagement and release operate directly from the cab, limiting repositioning and keeping movements deliberate. This saves time without rushing anything, especially during continuous handling. Added sprocket protection shields the drive, with dual access ports allowing blade lock screws to be reached without dismantling components.